Lingue Originali.
Un quadro molto comico, ma anche molto serio, della vita pubblica e privata in Gran Bretagna dal 2010 al 2018. Questo è ciò che potete trovare in Middle England di Jonathan Coe, pubblicato in Italia da Feltrinelli. Bentrovati da Dario Albertini, questa è una nuova puntata di Lingue Originali su Caffè Italia. Leggiamo oggi il secondo episodio di questo romanzo, ancora una volta dalla voce di Marco Piovaz.
Benjamin sprang up and hurried back into the sitting room. He opened the window and looked down at the forecourt to see Lois and her daughter Sophie standing at his front door on the point of knocking. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I've been trying to call you for an hour," said his sister. "What did you turn your bloody phone off for?" "I turned it off because I didn't want it to start ringing in the middle of a funeral," said Benjamin. "We were worried sick about you." "You needn't have been. I'm fine." "Why did you run off like that?" "I wanted to get away." "Where's Dad?" "He's here with me." "You could have told us." "I didn't think." "Didn't you say goodbye to anyone?" "No." "Not even Doug?" "No. He'd come all the way from London." "I'll send him a text." Lois sighed. Her brother infuriated her sometimes. "Well, are you going to let us in and give us a cup of tea at least?" "Okay." He let them through the house, and they joined Colin on the terrace, while Benjamin stayed in the kitchen to make a pot of tea and pour some white wine for Sophie. He carried the drinks out on a tray, taking the steps carefully, blinking as the evening sunlight hit him. "It's lovely out here, Ben," Lois said. "Must be great for your writing," said Sophie. "I could sit out here and listen to the river and work for hours." "I've told you," said Benjamin, "you can come here any time you want. You'd get that thesis finished in no time." Sophie smiled. "It's done. I finished it last week." "Wow, congratulations." "She never understood what you saw in this place," said Colin. "Neither can I. Middle of nowhere." Benjamin absorbed this comment and couldn't see that it merited a reply, even if he'd been able to think of one. "Ah, well," he said, and sat down at last, with a weary little sigh of satisfaction. He was just about to take his first sip of tea when he heard another car pull up outside the front of the house. What the hell? Once again, from the sitting room window, he looked down onto the forecourt, and this time saw that the car belonged to Doug, who was bent over with his bottom sticking out of the door, retrieving a laptop case from the back seat. Then he straightened up, and Benjamin found that from this angle he was allowed a view of something he'd never noticed before: Doug's bald patch. He was developing a pronounced bald patch. Briefly, this gave Benjamin a twinge of mean, rivalrous satisfaction. Then Doug saw him and shouted, "Why is your mobile turned off?" Without answering, Benjamin came downstairs to open the front door. "Hello," he said. "Lois and Sophie has just arrived." "Why did you leave without saying goodbye?" "It's like the beginning of The Hobbit, an unexpected party." Doug pushed him gently to one side. "All right, Bilbo, he said. "Are you going to let me in?" He ran up the stairs, leaving Benjamin standing in surprise, and headed straight for the kitchen. Doug had only been to the house once before, but seemed to remember his way around. By the time Benjamin caught up with him, he had already taken his laptop out of his case, installed himself at the kitchen table, and was tapping at the keyboard. "What's your Wi-Fi password?" he asked. "I don't know. I'll have to look at the router." "Hurry up then, will you?" As Benjamin disappeared into the sitting room on his errand, Doug called after him. "Nice speech today, by the way." "Thank you." "Well, not speech, eulogy, whatever you call it. Brought tears to a lot of people's eyes, that did." "Well, I suppose that was the idea." Even Paul seemed moved by it. In the act of scribbling down the password, Benjamin froze at the mention of his brother's name. After a moment, he walked slowly back into the kitchen and placed the scrap of paper next to Doug's computer. He had some nerve showing up today. His mother's funeral, Ben. He's got a right to turn up for that. Benjamin said nothing, just picked up a dishcloth and began wiping some mugs. "Did you speak to him?" Doug asked. "I haven't spoken to him for 6 years. Why would I speak to him now?" "He's gone now anyway. Back to Tokyo. Flight was leaving Heathrow at..." Benjamin wheeled around. His face had gone pink. "Doug, I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear about him, all right?" "Fine, no problem." Doug resumed his stepping, chastened. "Thanks for coming up today, by the way," Benjamin said in an effort at conciliation. "I really appreciate it. Dad was very touched." "You chose a lousy day for it," Doug grumbled, not looking up from the screen. 4 weeks I've been following Gordon around on the campaign trail. What happened in that time? Fuck all. Today all hell breaks loose and I'm not even there, stuck in some crematorium in Redditch. His fingers clacking away, he seemed oblivious to the brusqueness of these words. Now I've got to give them 1,000 words by 7 o'clock and all I know is what I heard on the car radio. Benjamin hovered at his shoulder ineffectually for a moment or two, then said, "Well, look, I'll leave you to it." There was no reply, so he drifted away and was half out of the kitchen door on his way to the terrace when Doug said, without looking up, "All right if I stay the night?" Taken aback by the question, Benjamin hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Sure."
Un nuovo appuntamento con Lingue Originali, edizione dedicata alla letteratura in lingua inglese, un nuovo autore, Jonathan Coe, secondo estratto da Middle England, pubblicato in Italia da Feltrinelli. Io sono Dario Albertini, ringrazio Marco Piovaz per questa lettura e vi ricordo le altre 2 edizioni, quelle dedicate rispettivamente alla letteratura in lingua tedesca con Nadia Meroni e quella dedicata alla letteratura in lingua francese con Barbara Marchand. Alla prossima puntata di Lingue Originali.
Lingue Originali.